All right, so in this video, we are going to use the pen tool to create a shape. Um, in this case, we're going to continue with what we were working with, and we're going to use the pen tool to create this kind of ticket shape right here that we have. So our normal rectangle option, blah, 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 excuse me, rectangular shape options are rectangle, ellipse, and polygon. Well, that's not quite what we want. I want a rectangle that kind of has these cut out sides. So for the sake of ease and what makes the most sense to me, I'm going to use the pen tool to trace them. So what we're going to do is we're going to first get our pen tool and then go over here to layers. And with our background layer selected, I did move inspiration above and I clicked that lock. That lock means that I can't do anything to that layer. It's not going to mess up. It's just there. Okay. Which is perfect for what we need it for. But with my background layer selected, I'm going to push the plus button and I'm going to rename this to shapes. Right. So any of the big shapes, so this blue square, the red line, the inside white, and so on over here, that's what's going to be in this layer. So now my shapes layer is active. I'm going to get my pen tool and I'm going to zoom in by pushing Command plus on my keyboard. Now what I like to do is I do like to zoom in pretty close. That way I'm making sure I'm doing an accurate selection or trace of an object. So pen tool right here, quick key is P, and you're going to choose a place to start. I'm going to start right here on this top left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my cursor right there, and you'll see on the cursor that I have a little star shape. That means begin. So I'm going to begin my path. A path is whenever you have lots of anchor points connected together to create a shape. So anchor points are each individual click. It's going to look a lot less jagged the less anchor points you have. So I'm going to bring my pen tool right here. I'm going to click. Now, I just clicked, which means I dropped an anchor point. That is my beginning anchor point. Now I'm going to come all the way across because it will do a straight line for me. And I'm going to click and hold. Now I've not let go of my cursor yet. Now what I want you to see first off is that it's a straight line. So it goes from point A to point B straight. All right. But if I were to click and drag, you see that line is no longer straight. We're looking at the green line that's the color of this layer. All right. That is called a Bezier or a curve. Okay. Obviously, we don't want that here, but we're going to need a curve here in just a second. So there are two different parts of this pen tool that we're going to talk about, doing straight and then when we do the Bezier. Now, when we do the Bezier, you see you have two parts on this little seesaw. The side of the seesaw that is pointing backwards towards my first point is called your past Bezier handle or your past handle. The Bezier, the part from the anchor point you just dropped to your cursor and is following your cursor around is called your future Bezier handle or your future handle. Now, your future handle controls the curve in front. The past handle or the past Bezier controls the curve behind. We're really only going to be focusing on doing a straight curve in the future, but even right now, I don't need anything to be curved. So I'm going to let go and push undo or Command Z, and I'm going to redo that point. So I'm going to reconnect. I have it collected. I'm going to click right here, and I'm just going to click and let go. When I click and let go and I do not drag, it does not create a curve. All right, right here, I need to create a curve. And I'm going to go to the end of the curve and I'm going to click and hold. And you see it's kind of a diagonal line. And I'm going to drag. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag it to the point that that green line lands on top of the blue shape I'm trying to trace. Now, remember I said this handle right here does a future curve. This handle carries the last curve. You see it kind of follows out towards the thing. Now, if I was to click down here right now and I have this handle, it's going to have a curve in it. Just like that. I'm going to undo. We don't want a curve in it. And so to get rid of this future handle or a future curve control, I need to get rid of the curve to begin with. And to do that, I'm going to put my cursor back on top of that anchor point and you see that little V shows up. That just means it's going to get rid of that future curve. And now I can do a straight line again. Then we're going to do the same thing we just did. click again. There we go. And that is how you use the pen tool to make a shape. Now, to finish our path or our shape, we are going to come all the way around to our anchor point, and you'll see that you are on the correct anchor point whenever you have a circle. That circle means you have completed your shape, and click and drag to where we want it. All right, so now I have that shape. I'm going to select, and I want this one to be that blue color. Why did it not select it? Select my path, blue. I'm going to drag my shapes on top. All right, there we go. So again, remember that if you're doing stuff up under and it's under that layer, which this one is this picture, it's not going to show. I'm just going to drag it to the top, and I'm going to say none for the stroke. And there we go. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to zoom out, and I'm going to place this where I would like it. Now remember, we made our left and right bounce so that we can easily place that image or that drawing right where we want it. And you see that pink line that's showing up? That pink line is showing me that I'm centered in the middle of my document. And I'm going to drop. Okay? So what I would like is for it to be taller. And so I'm going to mess with the width and height right now. I'm going to uncheck this link box. This link box says basically it contains the proportion. So if I was linked and I was to try to increase the height, it would change the width. And I don't want to do that. So I'm going to uncheck that, and I'm just going to increase the height. And then I'm going to go back over here and get it centered. I'm still going to go a little bit bigger. And there we go. So we're at the width and the height that I want. And because the shapes, the red line and the white, really I can just do the white and do a red stroke on that white and then just make it the size I want. So I'm going to have this selected. I'm going to Command C, Command V. I'm going to put it right back on top of where that one is. And then we're going to change the color. So the fill color is going to be white. The stroke color is going to be red. And I'm going to make the stroke a 2-point, or we'll go with a 3. We'll go with a 3 for now. And now what I want to do is I do want to link this because now I know that's the proportion I want. And I'm just going to make it smaller. Okay. And you see, as I move this, the width changes. So I'm going to center it back. And you see this green line that's showing up? That's showing me I'm in the middle of that blue. And I do think I want to do the stroke a little bit bigger. And we're going to change the size of that some more. All right. So there we go. That's how we create that. Now what I'm going to do is on the other side, and I'm not going to talk through this side because we're literally doing the same exact thing. Make sure. Here we go. And if you ever want to see what it looks like, push Shift W, and that'll zoom it all the way up in. So I see that it's not exactly the way I want it, so I might play with a few different little settings. I'm going to change the height on this one some. Okay, so if you see something and it's just not really hitting like where you want it to, you can play with it and resize. That looks better to me. Okay, so there we go. Now, the easy way to make this shape would be just to replicate that and then make it fit inside the box the way we want it. So I'm going to select all of these So I'm going to click off. I'm going to select this inside one, push the shift button down, and select my blue one. Command C, Command V. And then I'm going to move it over here. I'll move it over here on my paste board so we can play with it. So the difference in this one is that the inside is going to be white with a blue stroke, and the outside is just going to be white. So I'm going to click on that outside one first, and I'm going to change it to white. And then this inside one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it to that blue we were using. And I'm just using those stock colors on there. It's the same exact colors that I'm using on the other side. Now, I do want to make sure that I keep these kind of the right way. So I'm going to select, and I'm going to right click, oops, and I'm going to go to group. So now whenever I resize this, I can just click on this and resize like that. And I am dragging in it is not linked. Okay, so I may have to go back in and change a few things. And we know that I just want to make it fit inside of this box. Now, that does not look like the way we want it to, okay? So we are going to go through and make some changes here. Let's see. Group. And we are going to link that for now. I want it to be a lot nowhere near as wide. Okay. So now, okay. Now we can go through and let's see. Make this look the way we want it to. And if you open up your group over here, you can actually see like that selects this blue one. I don't know that it needs to be that thick. It is thick. It is. It's not as dramatic of a curve though. Okay, so we'll go back to that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get this white mouse while we have our blue one selected. Actually, you know what? We're going to not do that. We're going to go back over here to our inspo and re-drag. I did not take into fact this curve and this curve are much different. And to make them look right, it needs to be obviously different. So we're just going to trace this side just like we did on the other side. And you'll see now that I'm in the shapes and it's above my inspiration, I'm going to go ahead and change my fill to none and my stroke to none. And I'll go back and correct that. But that's just so that as I'm doing this, I don't see it on top. And as soon as I close the path, I'll be able to fix it. All right, so that's going to be white. Okay, I'm going to hide that one for now. So I'm going to hide that. So I just turn that eyeball off. And now I'm going to do this blue section too. And so I'm going to get my pen tool again, my shapes, get my pen tool. I'm going to turn that one off. I'm going to turn that one off. Oopsie. And I am going to sometimes I find it's easier just to go ahead and trace even though I could duplicate. All right, now this is going to have the blue stroke. This is going to have the white fill. That blue stroke on our original is 5. We may go back and adjust that because I'm not a fan of quite how large it is. Okay, So then I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to, where I can see both sides, open my layers. I'm going to turn that one back on. And I'm going to select that one and push down shift and click on that one. I am going to group those and get my move or my selection tool, quick key V, and bring it over here. Now that looks a lot better than what we originally had. And now the angles look right for that side. And so I can stretch that to fit what I want it to. I'm going to zoom in to make sure I'm hitting where my guidelines are that we created in the last assignment. All right. And we are crooked. Great. All right. So I'm going to get that. There we go. There we go. All right, so now we have our shapes. So you can do a zoom out, do a screenshot right here, and I should be able to see your shapes and that you have something grouped. All right.